Hello everyone, welcome to That's What He Said. I'm Sed Hansen, and today we're taking a look at this 2010 Mazda Mazda5. Now it's also known as the Mazda Primacy, and it ran from 1999 until 2018. Its competitors would have been things like the Kia Rondo, the Toyota RAV4 to a degree, and also the Kia Sorento. But really, for the US market, there really wasn't much like it, being a minivan, a micro van.
So let's go ahead and take a look at this little pint-sized weirdo known as the Mazda 5. As always, I'd like to thank Synergize Auto of Dallas, Oregon for letting me review this Mazda Mazda5 today. Synergize was founded by Chris and Jaden Walls, a husband and wife team who are dedicated to making sure that their customers get the exact vehicle that meets their specific needs. If you don't see what you want there, Chris can get you whatever you want, whatever you need. The sales team there is excellent. They're not commission based. They're just purely making sure that you get into the vehicle that is perfect for you. So if you're in the Dallas area, definitely go check them out. Highly recommended.
The first generation of the Primacy started in '99, like I said, and it ran until 2004. And then in Asian markets, it was also actually branded as the Ford Ixion, which ran from 1999 to 2003. In China, it was also manufactured by a company called Haina Automobiles, and they called it the Haina Frima. Now, the second generation of the Mazda Primacy ran from 2005 till 2010, and it did receive a refresh in 2008 as well, just to update the appearance a little bit. And in Asian markets, that was known as the Ford iMax. And then in pretty much all the other markets, it was known as the Mazda 5. And this is a second gen Mazda 5. Now, they did also make a hydrogen version of this car, and it was more of just a test bed for hydrogen capabilities. It used a 2-rotor Winkel motor that could run on either hydrogen or gasoline. And they called that one the Hydrogen RE plug-in hybrid. And they only managed to lease about 5 of them. Now, the third generation of the Mazda Primacy ran from 2011 until 2018. In the US market, it only made it till 2015. And at that point, sales were really slow, and they just killed it off. Now, the third generation of the Mazda Primacy, Mazda 5, in Japan was actually a Nissan. It was called the Nissan La Festa Highway Star. Now, let's go ahead and start with Mazda itself as a company. Mazda was started as the Tokyo Cork Kyogo Co., and they started in 1920. And then about 1931, they got into vehicle manufacturing, and their first vehicle was the Mazda Go auto rickshaw, which is considered one of the first auto rickshaws ever made. Now, the name Mazda comes from Ahura Mazda, which is the god of harmony, intelligence, and wisdom. And then it was also derived from the founder of Mazda's name as well, which is Jujiro Matsuda. Now, as far as Mazda being a brand, it wasn't until 1984 that they actually started going by the name Mazda. Now, Mazda, of course, is pretty notable for their rotary engines, but they actually got their inspiration from a German auto manufacturer known as NSU, and the car that inspired them was the RO80, which used a rotary motor, and it actually was the reason they started a partnership, and then the Mazda Cosmo was actually born from it in 1967. Now, Mazda's had a lot of joint partnerships, but probably their biggest one, most notable one, was Ford. In 1974, Ford bought a pretty large stake of Mazda, and then they carried that partnership until about 2015. And a few things that they did together, the B Series Mazda pickup actually started the Ford Courier. The Courier was basically a B Series for the United States. And then later, the B Series pickup line actually became platform mates with the Ranger. Now, even though Ford owned Mazda, Mazda had pretty big contributions. In fact, they helped Ford develop the Explorer. The Mazda Navajo was a 2-door only version of the Ford Explorer, and it didn't sell very well. Meanwhile, the Ford Explorer, of course, is still living today. Also, the Ford Probe, which was developed on Mazda's Flat Rock, Michigan assembly line next to the Mazda 626 sedan and the MX-6 Coupe. Now, over the years, for better or worse, Mazda has tried creating spin-offs, you know, other companies within Mazda to compete wherever they could, really. They had AutoZam, they had Unos, they had Infini, M2. In Europe, they had the Zados brand. And then they also tried to get into like the mid-level luxury area with a brand called Amati, and that was going to compete with Acura, Infiniti, Lexus, things like that. But it didn't really work out, and they scrapped that in 1992.
Reportedly, Mazda made a 4-liter W12 motor that was going to be the power plant for their flagship 1000 model. And then they switched that to a V12, and then, of course, they canceled everything.
Now, Mazda has also delved into motorsports too. Back in 1967, there was actually an independent racing team called Mazda Sports Corner, and Mazda noticed how good they were doing, and so in 1983, they brought them to Hiroshima and renamed the team Mazda Speed. Later in 1999, Mazda took full control of Mazda Speed. Now, as far as racing goes, Mazda Speed created one of, in my opinion, the greatest race cars ever, and that was the 787B, which was a quad rotor race car, and it actually won Le Mans back in 1991. And that feat, winning Le Mans, that was not done by an Asian motorsports team again until Toyota in 2018. Now, when Mazda took over Mazda Speed, they turned it from a racing team into a performance parts and tuning company, which later went on to start producing performance versions of production cars in 2003. Now, they didn't really make a whole lot of Mazda Speed cars, unfortunately. You had cars like the Mazda Speed Protege, the Mazda Speed 3, the Mazda Speed 6, as well as the Mazda Speed MX-5. So, if you're listening, Mazda, you need to bring back Mazda Speed. Please.
So starting off with the key, you can see it's pretty basic. It's kind of a switchblade style key. And you've got your lock and unlock buttons. And then you've also got a panic button as well. And the key just folds right back into itself. Moving inside the car, you can see this neat pattern on the door. It's got this kind of monochromatic theme. They've got that carried into the seats as well. The seats have little armrests that fold out. And then as far as adjustments, you can slide them forward and back. There's a little lever that moves the seat up and down. And then you've got your recline. And then the one up on the side of the seat adjusts the lumbar. And it goes through 3 positions, and it's kind of interesting because you just keep cranking it the same way and it goes in and out. Moving on from there, down on the floor, there's a little lever to open up the gas flap. You just pull that lever up, and then the flap pops open. And then from there, you can just open it up, twist off your cap, add that lovely life juice to your car. You're good to go. And then on the driver's door, you can have your basic controls like your lock and unlock button, little chrome door handle. You've got your mirror controls. And then you've got power windows, front and rear, little window lockout button. The handle also acts as like a little storage pocket. And then down below, you can fit a pretty good sized water bottle. And then you've got a little tray up here where you can hold some stuff. And then another little pocket down below, which has a lip to keep it from coming out. Blinks, because this is a pretty base model. Steering wheel, you got your volume controls, your seat buttons, mode, mute. On the right, you've got your cruise control stuff, so on-off button, cancel, resume, set. On the left side, you've got your turn signal stalk, which also doubles as your headlight switch. You just twist that forward, turn the headlights on, and then up and down for turn signals. Pull it towards you for high beams. And then on the right hand side, you're going to have your wiper controls. You push it up for mist, down for intermittent, low and high. Then you have your control to change how often it swipes. And then the rear controls for sprayer, intermittent, on, etc. This does have a tilt wheel. If you look underneath the steering column, there's a little lever. You pull it forward. That allows you to tilt it up and down. It does not telescope though. And then once you get a good position, you just lock it back in. And then to start the car, just turn the key forward. When you do, here's how the gauges look. They've got kind of this soft white glow to them. On the left, you're going to have your tachometer. Right in the middle, of course, your speedometer. There's a little knob on the left here that you can turn left and right to adjust the brightness. Then a little button you can push to change between trip A and trip B. Top right, you've got your coolant level. And then bottom right, you've got your fuel gauge. And then let's go ahead and take a listen to it while we're at it. And then to turn the car back off, you just twist the key backwards. It does have a lockout, and so just below the key, sorry about the blur, there's a little button that says push. And you just push that in with your thumb, turn the key, then you can take the key back out. All right, now moving on to the center. When you turn the car on, this will light up in this old school green, pops up a message that says hello, very friendly. You're gonna have your hour, minute buttons, and then this resets it to the nearest hour. Hazard button in the middle, then dynamic stability control on the right hand side. Then you've got your AM FM select, satellite, CD, media, load and eject buttons for the CD player, all your different preset buttons, different controls for scanning through channels, seek. You've got your power and volume control knob. On the right hand side, you're going to have your tuner, and it also is your button that you push to change between functions like adjusting your treble, bass, fade, etc. Below that, you're going to have all your climate control settings, so temperature, auto, off, defrost, mode, how much air you want, AC on and off. And when you change those settings up here on the little display, you can see where it changes the temperature. You can turn it on and off, where it's being positioned, and then also the speed of the air, kind of this little bar that goes up and down a little bit. And then you can see the vents on the dash. Pretty simple, just kind of move it up and down. That little knob for how much airflow you want coming out of them. And then you've got your recirculate button, rear defrost, rear controls. So when you have it on a mode, you can press that, and then that allows the passengers in the back to adjust their controls. And then you also have a button for seeing the ambient temperature outside. Moving down from there, this is a manual. So you got your shifter. Then there's a little pocket below. And then you've got a 12-volt plug-in, as well as an aux-in. This came from an era where people would have been using iPods. And then you do have a couple little basic cup holders, your e-brakes right there, and then you've got a little storage bin. Up above, you're going to have your visors with little tiny mirrors. No lights, pretty basic, like I said. Center mirror, you got your little dimmer toggle. Up above, you're going to have driver and passenger lights, and then the switch in the middle to change it between just off or having them come on when the door is open. And then same thing on the passenger, visor with a basic little mirror. And then you've got your grab handle in case your driver is insane. Glove box below, decent space, big enough to fit your owner's manual. And then the glove box is also lockable, so like if you're, I don't know, giving it to a valet or something, you can just take your ignition key, put it in there, twist it, and then that locks it out. And then just go back the other way to unlock it. Passenger door, same basic controls, little cubbies and all that. That same pattern. And then in the driver's footwell, to get under the hood, just pull the little lever right there. Getting under the hood is pretty easy after that. There's just a small lever in the middle above the Mazda symbol that you push over, and then you've got your prop rod. And put that up there, and now you're in your engine compartment. Now, being a US spec car, this does have the 2.3 liter inline 4. That motor was good for about 153 horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque. And then 0 to 64, it was about 10 seconds. As far as stuff you can do under the hood, you've got your coolant reservoir, washer reservoir, power steering fluid, your radiator cap. There's the oil cap, engine oil dipstick. Then kind of buried under there, you have your air filter. And then you've got your brake fluid reservoir. Now, of course, this is basically a minivan, so the doors operate like a normal minivan. Grab the door handle, it slides backwards, slide it back forward to close it. Once you do get inside, in the second row seats, you've got that same cool pattern. It's got armrests on both the left and right side of those middle seats. You can see the pattern over there on the door as well. And then the middle row of seats does slide forward and back. So you can get pretty decent leg room. We'll show that in a minute. And you've also got a little lever to recline the seat. And then these seats do have a neat little function. There's a loop here. When you pull it up, it reveals a little cargo space underneath. And then also there's this, on the passenger side, this little thing that folds out and gives you cup holders and like this little netted storage pocket. And then you fold that back in. And then if you recline the seat all the way down at that point, it gives you this nice big load space. And then sitting in the second row, you've got a little map pocket on the back side of the driver's seat. You've got your vents, and then your off, low, and high climate controls. With the seat back, like I said, there's okay leg room. On the doors, you've got your power window control, little lockout switch. And flip that back, and that allows you to get in and out. Nice big window. And then up on the roof, you've got a little slider switch to turn the lights on, off, or set them to when the door is open. And then, of course, you've got your grab handles and like a little hook. Getting into the back is really easy. Just fold the seat forward. And then it gives you good access to get right into the back. They've got that same pattern as found elsewhere. You've got cup holders. Legroom is not good. That's the seat set to where I was comfortable in the middle row. Another cup holder there. Yeah, pretty tight in the back, but it would be functional for, you know, kids. Now, getting into the very back is simple. There's just a lever underneath the Mazda badge that you pull up. That opens up. And then it also has a secondary level. You kind of pull it down a little bit and then up, and it gives you a little bit more height on that. And then in the back, you can see not a ton of room with the seats all the way up. But you just pull this little lever, flip the seat forward, flip the other one forward. And if you're not needing the third row, then that gives you a pretty good amount of space. On the left, you're going to have a 12-volt plug-in. Move this panel out of the way. You've got your jack. On the right-hand side, you've got a little light. And then you've got another little cover you can pull off and reveal a storage pocket. And then when you fold down the second row, you can see you've got quite a bit of room, pretty usable space. And then obviously closing it's super easy. Just grab the handle and shut it. Now, as far as styling goes, I think this is honestly a pretty decent looking little car. You know, it's not anything extraordinary. It is a little plain, but it was a minivan. It didn't have to be striking. Just in case you were wondering, the color of this is called Galaxy Gray Mica. But yeah, I think it's a decent looking little car.
All right, so that was a overview of the 2010 Mazda Mazda5. It's a really cool little car. They didn't make very many of them. They made even less of them with the 5-speed manual, which is just a super cool thing to have, in my opinion. And it's a mini minivan. It's very practical for its size. It's just a really unique little car that you don't see a whole lot of. And I'm so glad that I got to check this one out. Once again, I would like to thank Synergize Auto for letting me do a review on this Mazda 5. If you're in the Dallas area, definitely check them out. They've got a lot of unique, cool stuff like this. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.